Today, let's look at our ratios and proportions. So a ratio is a comparison of two numbers or quantities. So we've got $3 for 8 apples. So my ratio would be that $3 for 8 apples. Sometimes we write it as a fraction, $3 for 8 apples, kind of like our unit rates when we were setting things up yesterday. If I have 40 kilometers per hour, I've got 40 kilometers per 1 hour. So I could say that as 40 to 1. 15 girls for 14 boys. So we could say 15 to 14 because that was girls to boys. Oops, I can't spell. Girls to boys. 569 words in 2 minutes. So 569 words in 2 minutes. Maybe I want to write that as 569 to 2. And that's words to minutes. And if I want to say, I'm comparing colors here, I've got my green to blue. And I'm saying that that is 23 to 41. Now, I don't always have to go in the way the words were. You just have to make sure you're consistent as you do things. So we can write our ratios as fractions, and I wrote a few fractions up here. We can write them as words, so maybe the word 2. And I did that here. The colon is quite common. Since ratios are like fractions, or they just are fractions, ratios can be simplified as well like fractions. So when we're simplifying, so here I've got 9 to 30. You want to think about what number is going to divide evenly into both. So let's see, divide by 2, no, divide by 3. 3 could probably work. Let's see. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. Ha! There you go. So our simplified ratio is said to be equivalent to the original ratio. So we just discovered 9 to 30 is the same thing as 3 to 10 because I divided 9 by 3 to get 3, and I divided 30 by 3 to get 10. I can write it as the fraction, the 3 over the 10. And if you want to think about it in the reverse, so that's times by 3, and this one's times by 3, sure. So we can say that 9 to 30 is an equivalent ratio to 3 to 10. And ratios that are equal to each other are called equivalent, like we just said, equivalent. We can also call them proportional. Proportional. And a proportion is just writing it out like what I just did here. That 9 to 30 equals 3 to 10. Now there's an infinite number of options. Maybe I wanted 1/2. Well, let's see. Let's make it nice and simple for ourselves. Let's times top and bottom by 5. That'll give us an equivalent ratio because 5 to 10 is the same thing as 1 to 2. Ha-ha! What about, I don't know. What about 4 over 3? Let's times top and bottom by something nice and simple. I don't know. How about 10? I like times by 10 because then you just add a 0 at the end. Haha, 40 to 30. So those are all proportions. So your next page in your handout is one in which you get to practice doing those things. Why did the writer enjoy living in a basement? I do want to go through some examples of how to solve these proportions when you're missing a letter. So we're going to use the cross multiply technique. So later on, we're going to do some more equation solving so we can handle all sorts of equations. Right now, we're just going to use the cross multiply technique for how to handle it when I've got fraction equals fraction. So cross multiply means I'm going to multiply the two numbers that are diagonal from each other. So that'll give me an x equals 5 times 7. And I'm going to divide it by the number that's diagonal from the x. Now we can do our proper multiplication. So 5 times 7 is 35 over 35. And then therefore x is equal to 1. We could also, let me just erase that quick. We could also look at it and say, well, 5 goes into itself once, and 5 goes into 37 7 times, and 7 goes into itself once, and 7 goes into itself once. So we can also cancel, and then we just get straight to the answer, which is in lowest terms. So that's a great choice. Let's look at the next one. Let's see, now I've got the letters here. So let's cross multiply the numbers that are diagonal from each other. So that sets us up to begin with. So that gives us our b equals 2 times 18. And then we're going to divide by the number that's by itself, that's diagonal from my letter. And again, you can just multiply out. So 2 times 18, that gives us 36 divided by 9. And then 36 divided by 9 is 4. We can also cancel. That's really bright. We'll switch. Let's see. 2 does not go into 9. Oh, but 9 goes into 18 twice. And then that'll leave us with b is equal to 2 times 2 divided by 1, which is just 4. So either way works. We just want to make sure we're always in lowest terms. Okay? So you try the rest of these questions. Submit your work when you're done. Good luck, and don't be afraid to ask questions.